Empowerment. I've been talking about empowerment because you have to empower yourself. You can't keep complaining that I'm not having the I don't have the resources to do the job. Like Ratan Tata said, it's for us to everybody has equal opportunity to create talent, to create skills, to create leadership competencies. So how do you use it? How do you engage with the team? How do you enable the team? How do you sit with the team, understand the 64 competencies and have a clear calendar or a plan to impart those skills, 2 or 3 skills which are very critical to the job, critical to its development, as an overall leader. Educate and provide tools, keep providing tools. As a leader, you have to provide them tools so that you are empowering them to do certain things on their own, asking questions, the creating awareness. So there are so many things that you can, you can contribute in their development. Have a clear development plan. Identify 2 or 3 areas, functional skills and soft skills, and develop them over a period of 1 year. And then ongoing process. It's an ongoing process. Delegation of authority. Don't keep everything with yourself. I think you should not be a control freak. You should also have a DOA clearly defined. So with this, up to this level, you don't come to me. You take the decision on your own. So if you are managing a P&L, you are managing a product function or a service function or a marketing function or a finance function, whatever it is, you have to have your own clearly defined, a delegation of authority for your department. Fostering a can-do attitude. The can-do attitude is very important because people, this is where people really, it makes a difference actually. When it comes to delivering results or performance. So certain companies are action oriented. So certain companies, may not be that level of action oriented. But action oriented companies, you can see the aggression in marketing, aggression in sales, aggression in customer acquisition, aggression in their growth. So you can see the can-do attitude, how do you create a culture, how do you create a culture within the organization. So the creating actions, creating awareness, creating actions and creating accountability is a very, all the 3 are important cornerstones towards can-do attitude. Responsibility and accountability, as I said. Don't give fish, don't serve fish. How do you empower them to learn how to fish so that you are giving them lifetime opportunity, lifetime learning. Empathy, this is very important piece. Walk side by side, show compassion, show success, which I talked about. You have to really, if there is a failure, Singtel, I was attending a program in, I want to give an example. I was attending a program in INSEAD Singapore. The Singapore Singtel CEO had come for addressing all the senior leaders who are going through the leadership development program. So he said, I have actually given a KPI for making come out with a learning experience from a failure. So that's the importance. You're allowed to make failures and come out with your learning experience, because that's very crucial for organization at individual level and organization level to do many things, innovative things in their business. Because if you don't do that, you don't bring in the, if there is a there is no opportunity, if the organization is treating you in a manner you are fearful of articulating those failures and the learnings that have come along with that particular opportunity, then the organization is not going to learn, the individual is not going to learn, or the manager is not going to learn, the company itself is not going to learn. So I think it's very important, so how do you show compassion, how do you show helping hand in difficult times, work along with them to find a solution, learn from setbacks, learn from failures, responsibility and commitment. How do you lead? How do you bring in your charismatic leadership? I think sometimes it's very important that you have to be assertive as a leader, but you also have to have the empathy in your leadership style. Assertive is different and being empathizing is different. So I think sometimes rules and guidelines, you may have to break rules, you may want to comply guidelines and rules, but they are all guidelines actually. At the end of the day, rules are guidelines, not always used to punish for failure. So, you should be assertive, you should be action oriented, you should be result oriented, all that is fine, but not, if it is a habitual failure, if the employee is a habitual defaulter, then you should not hesitate to take action immediately. If there is an integrity problem, if there is a discipline problem, if there is a any of the problems related to integrity and honesty and discipline, then you should not wait, you should not give another repeat chance. So, that's you should take immediate action, however unpopular it is. Persuasion. So, persuasion, we talked about it. How do you build consensus? How do you create a win-win kind of a situation? It's a deal, and both of us actually win in the whole process. So, it's very important. It's a deal. I win, you win. It is not about I win, you lose. I lose, you win. This is, I don't think, then both of us lose. We have done a bad job, we have done a bad planning, and both of us know that it is going to fail. The plan is going to fail. So, that is completely avoidable. So, this is I win, you win. So, you have to build a trust. You have to create an atmosphere wherein you are you are able to bring in that trust and a sphere of influence. So, you can influence certain decisions. If you are walking certain distance, and if the other person is walking certain distance, if there is a gap to be bridged, so you can only achieve it through your ability to negotiate, ability to build have that influence. Without influence, you will not be able to create create a deal. So, it's very important. How do you influence your power over the team or the customer or the partner? So, it's a very important competency that the leader should possess. So, the next important thing about leadership is demonstrating entrepreneurship. I talked about entrepreneurship. I gave Airtel's story. Mr. Sunil Bharti Mittal would not have started Airtel if he had thought about how difficult the whole project is going to be. Starting a mobile company in India. I talked about how do it's a very difficult country in terms of geographical and regulatory and political and technological issues are there. So, technology is not more so an issue, but from a geographic coverage standpoint, political standpoint or regulatory standpoint, so it's going to be a major challenge, if you are going to roll out a pan India kind of a network, covering 450,000 villages already, maximum footprint and maximum coverage, maximum number of subscribers, more than 250 million customers. So, all that and now it has gone as a global company now. So, that's the entrepreneurship. Are you ready to take risk? Are you ready to come out with an innovative idea? Do you have an idea that can be commercialized, that can be made into a business proposition? So, do you have an innovative idea? Are you ready to take risk? What kind of ownership you are trying ready to bring in? Accountability, execution and empowerment. So, in your job also you have to bring in entrepreneurship. I think the manager has to create that space for employees to come out with innovative ideas. Maybe some may be too risky, some may be less risky, but you should be open to hear them out. You should be able to understand where they are coming from. So, I think this again comes under listening. If you are not listening, then you don't get ideas from others. Then the whole organization will be running with your own ideas. Everywhere you will have your own sign, your own signature. I think that should not be the case. You should have a method of collecting ideas from everyone and put the best idea to use. I think that's very important. Listening is very important. So, empowerment is very important because entrepreneurship is all about empowerment. The 6E model itself is an entrepreneurial model. The 6E model that I talked about: envision, energize, empower, execute, empathize. The whole thing is all about entrepreneurship. So, you have to run your job like your own business with your own P&L responsibility. I am sure you will not complain about anything, because that's how the organization has to create a culture. How do you bring in that entrepreneurship spirit of culture from every employee? Every employee has a role because it is not that I am working here as an employee, not as an employer, right. So, how do you create the ownership? With a lot of programs like ESOPs and other things, some of it is changing, but that is only one part of it. But as a culture, how do you create that culture? Ownership culture. Every employee becomes a owner of the organization. Decision making. This is very important. I love this quote by Sri Ratan Tata. I don't believe in taking right decisions. I take decisions, then make them right. So, I always believe in your ability. So, it's all about your ability and efforts at the end of the day. So, leaders have to take decisions, good or unpopular, good or sometimes you may have to take unpopular decision because of some reasons, right. You may have to let go of a good performer because he is some issues, right. So, he is a good performer, but some issues have come, so you have to let go of him. So, it is not always you are emotional about, hey, no, this guy is the best performer in my team, I can't let him go. So, leaders should be capable of creating the next best person in your team, or everybody should be contributing to the team. So, everybody is the best performer. So, how do you create that equality? So, decision is very important, right. It always creates forward momentum. You are moving from one point A to point B. If you do not take decision, if you are seen as a leader who is not taking decision, your business does not grow. It does not move from one place to another place. It stagnates. It actually stagnates at one place. So, you should remember that very well. So, the decision making, good or bad or unpopular, you should be ready to take any time. So, in the interest of the organization, in the interest of the team, in the interest of your profitable growth. The most important thing that I want to say here is planning. So, planning is the most critical part of it. I would say more than 80–90% of your time. So, I said you should create more empowerment and delegation of authority. As a leader, you have more time at your disposal to do a planning properly. Your planning, your strategy, if you want to change the strategy, certain things are not happening the way you expected. So, you want to do a course correction. So, all that will come if you have that quality time to really think about what planning is all about. So, it is very important, planning, planning, planning. So, this is what Albert Einstein has to say. If you ask me to save the world, that is the biggest problem that is presented to me. I would spend 55 minutes defining the problem, understanding the problem, planning how to do the solution, only 5 minutes finding the solution. So, that's how he looks at it. Planning is very essential. So, you have to, as leaders, we have to find time, quality time, undivided attention, and then do the planning for your business. Prioritize. So, how do you prioritize? Prioritizing is very important. Otherwise time management is very difficult. I will talk about time management. Prioritize is what's on your schedule, or schedule your priorities. So, it is all about scheduling the priorities in the first place. You first define the priorities and do not change the schedule later. Maybe you may want to adjust it, but scheduling the priorities is important. It is like important versus urgent. Let us see how it is. So, this is a tool, actually you can use it as a leader. How do you find quality time? How do you plan for a strategy? People say that I am so busy, I am totally engaged in operations, so I do not have time. So, time management is very important. So, I have taken important and urgency on the x axis and y axis, low, high, low, high. So, let us talk about low importance and low urgency. So, these are all distractions and avoidable. Generally, they actually lead in those actions do not need your decisions actually. It can happen on auto mode, or somebody at a low profile should be doing it. So, you should be very clearly distinguishing this low proactivity, low profile functions, mundane tasks. So, as a leader you should avoid it. Operational goals, here is a very important thing, empowerment and delegation of authority, because these are all low important things, but these are all operationally urgent things, high urgent things. So, it is all about your daily job demands, interruptions like conflicts, escalation management, decision making, operational effectiveness, change management. So, here is where you need to have maximum delegation, maximum minimize your interruption here, right. The third one is this is the least you should do, high urgent and high important. high urgent and high important. So, basically these are all SOS kind of situations, emergency situations, do or die. So, avoid being here as much as possible by being proactive, as it takes huge bandwidth. Because you have to do firefighting, you have to solve problems yourself. Then it takes a lot of resources to work on that particular problem. Escalation, you can't bring escalation from the operational level to SOS level. So it has to be killed there, it has to be solved there. You cannot wait for it to brew into a bigger snowball into a bigger problem. And then the whole organization runs behind that particular problem. The whole organization productive time gets sucked into this particular problem. So this is where you have to find your space. You have to plan. You have to highly urgent, the highly important things, but maybe less urgent. Maybe you're planning, you're doing a business planning for the next 3 quarter or next quarter or the next financial year or next 3 years. So you have to find time for all that. So if you are able to schedule your priorities, not prioritize your schedule. Clearly schedule your priorities. First you schedule your priorities, put your priorities, some priorities here, low priorities, put the next level of priorities here, urgent and high important priorities there, and very important strategic priorities over here. So once you do that, you will be able to manage your time properly. So this is a tool, I would insist that you can use it. Creating actions. So this again, I talked about it, actions. Once the awareness is created that this is what and this is why you have to do it. The next is how and what and how. So how part of it, plan in place, all set to go for execution. So you have to create, you have to inspire, you have to motivate, you have to create self-directed action as behavior within your team, because you can't wait for you can't tell the team wait for me to tell go. So team should be automatically motivated to go on to the execution mode. So without actions, there is nothing going to happen. Self-management. How are you going to manage yourself? So this is again whatever we have learned, I have put it in a formula. Self-management is equal to reflection. How frequently you do reflection, what level of awareness you are able to create, the unknown things about yourself, unknown things that you can do, unknown things about why you have to do, that awareness, practice, actions and discipline. So this becomes a way of life. How do you make it a way of life? That's self-management. Because anything in life, any new things, any new skills, any new change that you want to adopt, I think self-management is the cornerstone that will help you. That's the thought that you should have in your mind, how you can change yourself, how you can manage yourself. So it's all about it's a formula. Self-management is about reflection plus awareness plus practice plus discipline. Learning through experience. So learning experience comes through through your on-the-job experience, and I would like to quote the famous quote by Chinese philosopher Confucius. Tell me, I'll forget it, because telling doesn't help you in any way, because that's what most of the training programs happen. Training without any interactive methodology of learning development, what happens, the training remains as a training. Most of the organizations spend a lot of money on training because the trainer comes and tells you what to do, but there is no self-awareness being created in the whole process, interactive way of learning development that happens. So experiential learning is very important, because the leader is one who leads from the front and makes the learning experiential, because that is where you will take it as a skill development opportunity. Tell me, I'll forget. Show me, I may remember. Involve me in the whole process. So you have to involve your employees in the process. You have to give them the authority, you have to give them the empowerment, you have to give them the tools, so they will understand, and the output will be much faster and quicker and high quality. So I'm just leaving this thought process. The learning experience, adult learning is all about experiential learning. So you can't be telling them how to do, you can't be telling them you have to do this, right, telling them what to do, but you have to actually involve them in what to do and how to do. So this is this slide is similar to another reflection of what David called, professor of organizational behavior. he developed a famous model of learning theory. It's a Kolb's theory that learning occurs in a cycle like this. It's a continuous process. So, first is observation and reflection, which I said before. Then you get concepts and clear, then you go and test it, apply it, and then concrete experience. So, this whole cycle repeats in itself the learning. So, learning every day is a learning. You have an equal opportunity that we said in the beginning itself. So, learning is a lifelong process. So, without learning, the change will not happen. Change is the only constant that will motivate you to move from one level to another level and create the momentum in life. Self development and skills enhancement, this again you have to identify, you have to do. I have a leadership assessment tool which I have not actually put it there. It's a big process by itself. So, you assess yourself on the leadership assessment tool and identify those skills areas where you want to do a development. Don't there are 64 skills, you may be good in some of those skills, you may not be good in many skills, but identify the top critical skills you want to have a clear plan for development. So, 3 or 4 skills, soft skills and leadership and business skills combined, and you put a clear plan for the next 6 months or 1 year and then go about it. Power tools, these are all power tools which you can use it in your daily work routine. Respect versus invalidate, responsibility versus blame, truth versus fraud, choice versus chance, commitment versus trying, responding versus reacting, trust versus doubt, action versus delay, lightness versus stress, gratitude versus manipulative. So, because these are all behavior, employee behaviors. So, you should know how do you move from one side of the behavior to another negative side of the behavior to the positive side of the behavior. Because this is again you as a as a psychologist, a leader has to be have psychological capability, because at the end of the day you are dealing with emotions of people. How do you move how do you make them move from one polarity to another polarity, from a negative side of the behavior to the positive side of the behavior. So, as a team 10-12 people together, how you make a difference for the whole organization. So, these are coaching enablers. Some of the, I am not going to go deep into this, I have shortened it into one slide. Perspectives, how do you understand the perspectives, how do you invite new ideas, how do you seek new ideas. Energizing, how do you energize the team. We talked about all the 4 levels of energizing: physical, mental, emotional and spiritual energizing. Intent, you should have, how do you get the best intent out of every team member. That is why I said the purpose should be known, the why part of the problem should be known, why part of the business plan should be known, the vision should be known. Accountability, gratitude, self management, creating trust and diversity. These are some of the enablers. You will be playing it now and then as appropriately as you have conversations with your team. Finally, how do you create a blue ocean? It's all about creating a blue ocean. We are in a very aggressive world where we are in the red ocean. In the red ocean, which is a hyper competition world, you are going with your own products and services. But within that marketplace, how do you create your blue ocean? Because that's where the difference, each as an individual, as a leader, as an organization, how do you create that leadership? How do you create that blue ocean strategy? There is a book on blue ocean strategy. I would ask you to, if you find time, you can read that, which is a fantastic strategy book. It's all about innovation that distinguishes how creatively you are able to bring out your ideas, how you are able to stay ahead of the curve. Like Airtel is a great example. When mobile industry was non-existent in the country, they started the company to be the leader, to become the to become a president in the whole industry. They didn't wait for the industry to start and wait for data to flow in, and then you compare whether this industry is going to happen. But they set leadership, they set they set the whole plan in plan moving, and then others started following it. So, and today they are the biggest leader in this industry. So, innovation is, and today the whole company comes out with a lot of innovative ideas like outsourcing. They have partners like Ericsson, IBM, Nokia, Siemens. They are all partners, innovative partnerships. That's the key That's the success, critical success factor for a company like Airtel. Outsourcing is a critical component, right? So, Apple, for example, let's talk about Apple. Why Apple is the most loved company in the stock market in the Wall Street? They are able to create wealth. They are able to create millionaires. So, the stock market performance over the last decade has been extremely good. Of course, some correction in the last after Steve Jobs' death, but Tim Cook is trying to do is still coming on with a lot of innovative products. The products are, they have done 30 million on the Apple iPhone 5s. So, I think they come out with a lot of innovative ideas, innovative products. So, that's the difference between a leader and a follower. You actually become a leader. So, he is a great example of this, being a business leader. So, that's how Apple company has been, perceived in the market. So, how do you create a blue ocean? There are many examples. Airtel, I can give an example. I can give Singapore Airlines as an example. TCS is an example. Infosys is an example. Or Starbucks is an example. So, there are many examples in the blue ocean category. So, how Southwest Airlines in the US. So, there are many examples. This book gives you a complete insight into how to create a blue ocean for yourself. How do you create a leader who's always staying ahead, making competition irrelevant, that's the key thing. And you can create your own space, you can create your own value, you can create your own price for your market that you're serving. So, that is the key part of it. In summary, this is what I want to leave the thought with you. A good leader, he brings in a lot of competencies, right? Right from inspirational. He is an inspirational leader. He tells stories so that people get motivated to do the things. He is high integrity person. He has clear goals and clear communication with the team. He sets as a leading example. He brings in the vision and he envisions the people, makes people inclusive into the vision, has clear communication with the team and all the stakeholders, expects the best. He provides support and empathy, encouragement. He motivates. He acknowledges and recognizes rewards and recognition. He stimulates, focus on team interests and needs, and it's a win-win kind of a situation. So, he listens more than what he talks, and he does actions in line with what he says. The thoughts and actions synchronize. So, that's the good leader. So, how do you move from good leader to a great leader and the blue ocean, create a blue ocean strategy, which we talked about? I think let's talk about this. How do you become a good leader from a good manager? I think we have talked enough, and I'm sure you found it very encouraging, very motivating. I'm sure I can go on talking about it for hours and hours, but what is essential is how do you take the journey, the self-learning learning journey of a lifelong lifelong opportunity of learning and development. And there is enough available materials. I have introduced some tools and I've referred some books over here. I would sincerely request you to look at those as resources and tools in your own journey in the lifelong learning of development, leadership development. How do you become, how do you transform yourself? How do you transform yourself from being a manager to a good leader and to a great leader by creating your own strategy? I think that all lies in your own hands. Don't just expect the organizations and companies to invest on yourself. They will be investing on training and development programs, but you should also invest. Maybe coaching is, you may want to find a coach, you may want to have a coaching and intervention in your life, but you have to make that call, you have to make that investment, because sometimes using the coach can bring out the best of your potential which is unknown to you, and that is where you are bringing out your best of your performance. But as a leader, you also have a responsibility to become a coach, as a leader, how you are able to unlock the performance and multiply the effect of performance in the overall company results. I am sure this will have a multiplier effect, and this will take the performance to different trajectory. With that, I would like to thank you for your patient hearing and attention on this leadership development program on coaching for performance. for transforming, that will help you to transform a manager into a great leader. Thank you so much once again.